Change of subject formula. Change of subject formula is one interesting and often essential subject that students need to master, especially if the student is um, scientifically inclined or is technically inclined. Because if the student is scientifically inclined, if it's going to be in the sciences or it's going to be a technician, then it's going to have to solve equations or for problems where you may need to make a particular letter or quantity the subject formula, especially if it's a physics student, where you have acceleration is equals to u squared plus 2as v squared is equals to those formulas of equation, formulas of motion. You have single pendulum, harmonic motion, and those formulas. You will discover that maybe E is given and V is not given. You have to make V subject formula, or from V you get other formulas. So those techniques, they are all derived from, or they all depend on knowledge of subject formulas, change the subject formula. It also applies to technicians or technical students. So this subject is foundational. It's very, very important for science students and for technicians and also for other fields. So let's proceed. The letter I is the subject of the formula. I is equal to P times R times T over 100. Now the subject stands on its own. The subject stands on its own. So in this equation, I is said to be a subject because it is standing on its own. Or another way to say is that I is dependent on the values that you have here. So whatever happens to this side of the equation determines the value of I. If we give P, let's say 2, I'll give R 5, we give T, we say the value of T is 10. By the time we multiply 2 times 5 times 10, divide by 100, that would be the value of I. If we change the values of each of these letters, that also affect the value of I. So I depends on whatever happens on the right hand side. So the change subject formula means that, or the subject of a particular equation means the quantity or letter that depends on the values or the manipulations that happen on the other side of the equation. Or simply, what I just said is about concerns when you start solving. So whatever happens on the side of the equation determines what I would eventually turn out to be. But in lay way of saying it is that the subject of an equation is that quantity or letter that stands on its own. Stands on its own. I think that's better. So in this case, I stands on its own. We can also make any of this letter to become the subject. That's why we have change of subject, change of subject. And most times in mathematics, that usually happens. Sometimes, like this formula, this is the interest. You can give the value for interest, and you would be asked to get the rate. So if you need to, in that instance where you need to get the rate, it means that you need to make the rate to stand alone, and that involves following some mathematical rules or guides. So which we are going to do, or which this lesson is about. So the subject stands on its own in a formula. To find its value, substitute the values of the other letters and that of the other letter directly into the formula. So in this particular case, if you are going to look for the value of I, since this is subject I, and this is the formula that connects I connects to I. Now what you do is that if you are going to look for the value of I, just put or substitute the values for each of these letters, the values of P into P, the value for R into R, and that of T into T. And then you solve, multiply, and then divide by 100, you get I. That's what this pattern is, and that's what I covered in the previous video. We looked at change of formula and substitution. But if we go, let's go on. It is often necessary to change the subject of a formula, like I explained earlier. In physics, even in mathematics, you are given this formula, but you can't use this formula as it is if you are to look for rates. if you are looking for time or the principle. So what you do is you have to make a change. You have to make changes, and to make changes means to reorder to change the order of the letters. So this means to rearrange the order of the letters in the formula so that one of the letter becomes the subject. So if we are going to get the value of R, given that we know the value of T and the value of P and the value of I, what we do is that we need to rearrange this equation so that R stands alone. So when R stands on its own and I, T, P, and 100 are connected on the other side of the equation, in that sense, R is the subject of the formula. So change of subject of formula means rearrange the order of the letters in the formula so that one of the letters becomes the subject. This may involve noting and following some basic mathematical rules. So let's look at the rules. Rules on this side, and then what you should be doing when you're going to carry out change the subject of formula. For instance, if the particular equation has addition, for you to carry out change the subject formula, you must subtract if it is addition. So you are just going to do the opposite of what you have in that equation. Addition is subtraction. Subtraction, the opposite is addition. For multiplication, the opposite is division. For division, the opposite is multiplication. For square, the opposite is taking square root. And for square root, the opposite is squaring square roots. So by the time we take examples, all of these principles will be applied. So let's look at some basic guides that should be guiding you when you are carrying out change of subject formula. A says remove square or square root if present. So in a condition or in a situation where a particular equation has square roots, let's for instance the period of a single pendulum, you have 2 pi square root of L over G. So I think that formula is correct on science and physics. This is a period of a single pendulum. Okay, so assuming this is a formula, and I want to assume that it's correct in this case. Okay, so assuming this is the period of the formula, you can see the square root sign over LG. So let's say we want to make L the subject formula. In this case, the period, which is T, is the subject formula because it's standing on its own. So if we attempt to make L the subject formula, it means that we're going to apply a lot of principles or guide here for us to make L the subject formula. But don't be afraid, it's not hectic and it's not time draining. It's just simple. Just follow some simple rules, and before you know it, you're already there. So simple and so easy. So that's what I'm implying. So the first thing, as long as the square root is present, you eliminate the square root, and there's a way you do that. To eliminate the square root, look at the rule. Where you have square root, you square the root, square the square root, to be able to eliminate it. So by the time we get to this process in subsequent videos, you're going to see how that is going to be done. Then clear fractions if present, like you have maybe 1 over 2, let's say, okay, 1 over 2 plus E over 2 and B over 4. In a case like that, and you want to make E the subject formula, so what you do, you clear fractions. And how you clear fractions, you solve this as though you are solving addition of fractions, and in that case you're going to look for LCM on the denominators, and from there you get a simplified form of this fraction. Then you cross multiply, and then you're able to make E the subject formula. So you can see that only this problem we have a lot of rules that are mathematical rules that will be, I can say, the mathematical rules. You see, there's looking for a denominator, and then multiplying, dividing, and all of that. So clear fractions, clear brackets if they exist. So then you have, let's say you have x a plus b is equals to z, and the question says you should make b subject formula. What do you do? Now b is inside this bracket, and for you to be able to make b subject formula, you must first of all take away this obstacle, which is the bracket. So because b is what you're going to make subject formula, you have to clear this bracket, and there's a rule you about it, factorize. So now there's need for factorization. I think that's, so if necessary, factorize the term on this side of the equation. So in this case, it's necessary for factorization to take place. So what do? you just have to factorize, and then you make b solve the formula by following other rules. So that's what that implies. Then this is collect like terms together involving the required subject. So assuming this particular instance, you have x e plus b, and then equals to z equals to y plus b. In this case, both sides, and you have to make b a solid formula. Both sides have b inside or enclosed by brackets b in b. So what you do is, it's necessary that you clear the bracket, because what you want to make solid formula is inside brackets. So you must factorize this to give us ax plus bx is equals to yz plus bz. Now you discover that what you want to make the formula is here on this side of the equation and so on this side of the equation. So what you're going to do is that you're going to collect like terms. So you bring bx is already here. You bring bz, so bz will cross this bridge. I call it a bridge. You cross this bridge equals to sign, and then it becomes minus because the sign is plus bz, and then this one will move over. So yz minus ax. Same reason why this one became negative, because it has to cross the equal to sign to become negative when it crosses. So now this is what C is saying: collect like terms together involving the required subject. So we've collected like terms together because we want to make B solid formula. B is common on both sides. So we collected like terms involving the required subject. And it says if necessary, factorize a term on each side of the equation. So now, because we cannot just leave it like this, we want to make b, so the formula b is there and b is there. What do? We factorize. So when we factorize, b is x minus z is equals to y z minus x. So this, we have brought b out. So to completely make b solid formula, we're going to divide both sides by x minus z. So b will stand out or stand on its own. It becomes y z minus x over x minus z. So you can see that now b is the subject of the formula. So and f is isolate the required subject, usually by division by a common factor, which is what I just did. So we follow from d to f. That's what I just applied from here down to get to be able to make b solid formula. First, collect like terms involving the required subject, which is from here, and brought this to this point. So eventually I got bs minus bz. Then it says if necessary, factorize the term on each side of the equation. So this part bx minus bz, I want to make b solid formula. So it's only on this part of the equation that we have common terms, where the later that we intend to make subject occurs, and so it's here, which is bx minus bz. We have b here, so we don't need to factorize. Beside, we don't have any common term here. So b. Now, factorizing b out, we have b brackets over x minus z bracket closed. Then the next it says isolate the required subject, usually by division by common factor. So in this case, for me to be able to isolate b from, because this is multiplication, we need to be able to isolate b. The rule says multiplication is division, that is the opposite of multiplication is division. Carry it out. So I'm going to divide both sides by x minus z. Once I've done that, b would stand on its own. So once it's in this form, b is now the subject of the formula. So we're going to carry out examples that will really show how this change of subject formula is being done. Question says make x the subject of the following. So a y equals to x minus 9. So x minus 9, remember I said, now in this case we want to make x the subject formula, and that means we want to make x occupy this position, making x stand alone or stand on its own, while 9 and y will be on the other side or this side of the equation. So how do we go about this? We check here, x is related to 9 by this sign minus, there's subtraction, and this is the equation. So to make x solid formula, since there's a subtraction, we have to do the opposite of subtraction, which is addition. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So I say add 9 to both sides. So we do this because we want to eliminate 9 from here, so that the idea or the reason for doing this is that once we add 9 to both sides, here will be minus 9 plus 9, and this will be 0. So x will be able to stand on its own without any letter or number attached to it. So when we add 9 to both sides, we will have y plus 9 is equals to x minus 9 plus 9. Minus 9 plus 9 is 0. So y plus 9 is equals to x, or we say x equals to y plus 9. So we have made x the subject formula. That's how to go about it. And it's equals to 7x. Now, in this case, 7x seems like 7 times x, and that's what it is. 7x is multiplication, that's 7 multiplied by x, so 7 times x is 7x. And what did I say about multiplication? If you are to carry out change the subject formula, once a particular equation with the letter you have to make subject formula is connected to another number or letter by multiplication, then you have to carry out opposite of multiplication, which is division, in order to make that letter the subject formula. So this is a case of multiplication. So to make a subject formula, you have to divide both sides by either the letter or number connected to the quantity or letter that is to be made subject formula. Since x is to be made subject formula, this is what is connected to x. So we're going to divide both sides by 7. So we say divide both sides by 7. So n over 7 is equal to 7x over 7. So the idea is that when 7 divides 7, it will give us 1 over 1. And 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 times x is x. So n is equal to 7 equals x. Or we say x equals to n over 7. So once we do this way, our final result will mean that x is standing on its own, while on the other side of the equation, n is divided by 7. So this is what we want. X over a is equals to 8. So now in this case, we want to make x subject formula, but x is connected to a by division. And then to make x subject formula, we want to eliminate a, which is connected to x by division. So to do that, we're going to carry out the opposite of division, which is multiplication. So we're going to multiply both sides. Remember that anytime we are carrying out the opposite of a particular operation, it applies to both sides. You don't just do it on the side that has the letter that you want to make subject formula. For instance, I wouldn't say multiply both sides, multiply only this part of the equation by a. No, whatever you are doing here, you also affect this part of the equation. So just as we did here, divide both sides by 7. 7 was here, but we have to divide both sides, and the elimination only affected this part, not this part. The same thing here. This is negative minus, so we say add 9 to both sides. Now the addition of 9 to both sides affected only the part that has the letter that is to be made subject formula. It didn't affect this part. So at the end of the day, we got x equals to y plus 9. Same thing here, we divided both sides by 7. Only affected this part that is connected to the letter that's to be made subject formula. So we ended up having 1 divided by 1, which is 1. 1 times x. That way, x started standing on its own, while on this other side of the equation, you had n over 7. So we're going to apply same principle. That's the principle you apply all through when you're changing subject formula. So x over a is equals to 8. What do? We need to multiply both sides by a. So we say multiply both sides by e. So here will give us e times x over e equals to 8 times e. So this a will cancel this a, and then x equals to 8e d a h over x equals to k. Okay, so what we want to make, so the formula is x. X is related to h by division. So we're going to multiply both sides by, first of all, we're going to eliminate h. But how do we eliminate h? we can't eliminate h directly from here. So what we need to do is to eliminate this division. So for us to eliminate division, we're going to multiply both sides by x. Multiply both sides by x. So we'll multiply both sides by x. This will be x times h over x equals to k times x. So x here will cancel each other. 1 divided by 1 times h is h, h divided by 1 is h. So h is equals to kx. But we want to make x stand alone, or make it a solid formula, but x is now connected to k by multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by the letter that is connected to x. So since the relationship or the connection is multiplication, the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by k. Let's go to divide both sides by k. So h over k is equal to k x over k. K1, K1, x equals to h over k. And that's it. E y is equal to 2x plus 1. Okay, so now what we want to make solid formula is related to 2 by multiplication, and then the product is related to 1 by addition. So we're going to do two things. So the first thing is we need to eliminate 1 from here. All of this is in a bid to make x solid formula. So first thing, remove this part. And for us to remove this part, since there's addition, we're going to carry out the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. And so we're going to say subtract 1 from both sides. Subtract 1 from both sides. So this becomes y minus 1 equals to 2x plus 1 minus 1. Plus 1 minus 1 is 0. So y minus 1 equals to 2x. So now you see that we no longer have this part anymore. So it's to be simplified. The next thing is you understand that I want to make x solid formula, but x is still joined or connected to a number, and the relationship is that of multiplication. So to make x stand alone, we don't want 2. Our intent is to make x stand alone. We don't want any other thing to be attached to x. So what we do is to remove 2. How do we break this bond that's already existing between x and 2? The only way we can do that is to carry out division, which is the opposite of multiplication. So we're going to say divide both sides by 2. So divide both sides by 2. So this will give us y minus 1 over 2 is equals to 2x over 2. So 2 here 1, 2 here 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 times x is x. So y minus 1 over 2 equals to x, or we say x equals to y minus 1 over 2. So that's the answer. That's how x is made the subject formula. Number 2. Now this is make P, R, and T in turn the subject of the formula. So right now the subject formula is I, which is P, R, T over 100, and the relationship that connects P, R, and T together over 100. First for P, R, T, the numerator is multiplication, and what connects P, R, T to 100 is division. So now we want to make P the subject formula, meaning that we want to make P a stand alone. We don't want 100 joined. In fact, we want to separate them totally. So we want P to be stripped here. We don't want 100 to be attached to it. We don't want R and T to be attached to P. We just want P to be on its own. So how do we do that? We're going to follow the process. The first thing is that P is joined to RT and then also joined to 100. So let's get 100 off. And the only way we can get 100 off is that 100 is related to PRT by division. So the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to say multiply both sides by 100. Take note that it's because I'm explaining, that's why I'm putting these steps. When you are solving, you can ignore the steps. You can just look at it, and which merely by looking at it, you will know what to do, and then just solve on and on without writing these steps or explaining the steps as you go on. So when you multiply both sides by 100, you're going to have I times 100 is equals to P R T over 100 times 100. So this will cancel 1, and so we're going to have 100 I is equals to P R T. Okay, so now we are, I think one part is gone to, for us to make P a formula, we need to understand the relationship between P, R, T. So the relationship that exists between P, R, T is that of multiplication. What brought them together was multiplication. So for us to separate R, T from P is the opposite of multiplication, which is division. Let me say divide both sides. Divide both sides by RT. These are the two things we don't want to be attached to P anymore. So we are going to split them apart from P, and we're going to do that by division. So 100 I over RT is equals to P RT over RT. So this will cancel, this will cancel. So P is equals to 100 I over RT. So this is the formula for principal. So in simple interest, if the principal is not given and you need to get the value of the principal, this is what you do to make P standalone. So what you need to do is simply substitute the value of I into I, and that of R, that's the rate and the time, into the letters, and then solve. You get the principal. So let's get the next one is our rate. We can get our rate directly from here, or we can also get it from here. So let's say we want to get our rate from this formula P. So P is equals to 100 I over RC. So to get our rate from this formula, we just say, okay, we're going to say, first of all, since our rate that want to make the formula is here, down here, and it's related to what we have on the numerator side of the fraction by division, we're going to multiply both sides by RC. So multiply both sides by RC. So multiply both sides by RC. So we have this bigger RC times P equals to 100 I over RC times RC. So this will cancel. So P becomes PRC equals to 100 I. Back to what we have here. Now, our focus is to make R the subject formula. This means that at this point, we don't want P and T to be connected or related to R anymore. We want to strip R of P and T. So how do we do that? First of all, recognize the relationship is multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides. Divide both sides by P T. So PRC over PT equals to 100 I over PT. So cancel. So R is equals to 100 I over PT. This is the formula for rate. So this is the formula for principal. This is the formula for rate. Now let's get the formula for time. That means let's make T the solid formula. We can make T the solid formula from this equation, or we can make T the solid formula from this equation. If you are using from this equation, multiply both sides by R to eliminate R 100 from here. Multiply both sides by 100 in order to eliminate 100 from here. Then what you're going to have is 100 I equals to PRT. Then is T, you have to make solid formula, so you're going to divide both sides by PR. Then you get your answer. But I want to make T solid formula from here. So I'm going to say let me write start again. R is equals to 100 I 100 times interest over P times T. So I'm going to say, since what I want to make solid formula is connected to 100 I by division, so I'm going to multiply both sides by PT. Multiply both sides by pt. So r times pt, or you can say pt times r is equals to 100i over pt times pt. So this will cancel. So pcr, or you can say prt. prt is equals to 100i. So what are we making subject formula? Is the letter t. So t. Okay, so in order to do that, we want to get rid of these two, or eliminate pr from t. And take note of the relationship is multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So say divide both sides. Divide both sides by pr. So prt over pr is equals to 100i over pr. So pr will cancel. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 times t is t. So t is equals to 100i over pr. So this is the formula for our time.